Grant Mitterlehner back with us, the MittGroup CEO, Mitt Blockchain CEO, expert on all things here. He's gotten very rich believing in this when no one else was. Grant, good to have you back.
Good to see you, Neil.
When you see days like this on top of days like yesterday, do you ever get antsy?
So I can tell you when I first started, my Lord, Neil, I think anybody in that sense was. And I think, the crypto investors is completely different. The landscape is different. And I saw someone actually talking about this recently, is these pullbacks that we're seeing when things like the China Evergrande deals happening and different stuff with regulation, the White House cracking down on certain things. When those things used to happen, the pullbacks used to be 10 to 15%. And I think yesterday was right around 6-7%. And so it's changing, but you have to just look at the grand scheme of things. The September, along with the stock market, has never been historically great for the crypto space. And there's a lot of uncertainty out there as far as regulation with the crypto space and a lot of different things. But I think in this sense, if you have to become a seasoned investor when it comes to crypto, you have to look at days like this more as opportunities and realizing that you're getting essentially a 6 to 7% discount on your purchase. And if you dollar cost average your purchases over a grand scheme of time, and you're betting on the long-term legitimacy of crypto, then I think it's a win-win as long as you're a long-term investor.
People like Cathie Wood, of course, with the ARK Fund, a big believer in Bitcoin, thinks this could be a $500,000 investment in 5 years. I think that was the timeline. What do you think of that?
Right. I think it's completely reasonable if it matches gold's trajectory. And it just depends on what happens with it. Neil, I know it's El Salvador, but it's just unbelievable that we're having an actual country tweeting out, the president of the country tweeting out that they're buying the dip. And I know it's a small country, but this is something that would be unheard of 5 to 6 years ago. And so
but they've had a botched rollout, right? I know things have gotten better, Grant, but did that worry you that here was a country that was going to really go deep into this?
Right.
It was sloppy, and I don't know how it is now, but what do you think?
Well, when you roll out anything on a grand scheme of things, it's not going to be perfect. It's a brand new system. It's a country that obviously needs a currency that's going to be worth something because, countries like that, they primarily would use, U.S. dollars and other currencies. So it's gonna take time, Neil. I think we're out of the infancy stages, but we are in maybe now the toddler stages where people are slowly becoming accustomed to this. Big money is now taking notice, where we have Wall Street and all those other guys that are going to slowly start kind of getting into this. What's going to happen over the next 6 months is going to be extremely interesting as far as, the SEC and regulation and that debate, what happens there. But I think more and more capital across the world is slowly going to be invested into it. And these drawback and these bad days are going to get lower and lower and lower each time. And I think that true value of Bitcoin and the whole space is just going to continue to rise at a massive level.
Normally, and you obviously follow this far closer than but Bitcoin has always been the go-to investment when the markets go nuts, right? And in these last couple of routes, it's not. Now, that could be some of these other factors, like the SEC piling on, a number of senators saying Bitcoin has to be reined in, and maybe that's all a pile on here. But does that worry you?
There's always going to be some drawback, some worry. Like Neil, the biggest thing you can say is we're having this conversation for a reason. And 5 years ago, the United Nations are getting together and the SEC chair is down in New York and they're talking about all these different things. Crypto is a consistent conversation that we would not be having 5 years ago. And as you see more and more and more, countries adopt this, more major people are looking into this and hedge funds and different groups, it's going to continue to rise. There's going to be plenty bumps along the road. To any investor, what I would advise is bet on the long term. Don't get caught up in these smaller currencies and these smaller coins. Focus on the coins that you truly believe in, and dollar cost average. Every time there's a dip, take advantage of it and focus on the long term.
Yeah, I heard one say, you wouldn't want to bet your kids' college education on it. But, that really depends, Grant, how I feel about my teenagers at that given moment. So I guess it's kind of like a personal choice depending on your mood. All right, Grant, thank you very, very much. Very good seeing you again, my friend.